When the state director wants to adjust or add or edit his own state contest for a state event, there are a couple of ways to get to that section of the website. From the main menu as a director, as a state director, there's a link on the left to configure your state contests. That can also be accessed using the state director's menu, edit state contests. Most of the events by default start out with a copy of the NLSC contests. So in this case we're looking at a sample of the Virginia State Skills Conference, and you can see that the 3D modeling, architectural drafting, cabinet making, all the typical NLSC contests from the National Conference are preloaded or pre-configured for you. This grid is pretty easy to navigate through. Down at the bottom right hand side you'll see some buttons for navigating from various pages. By default it's sorted alphabetically by contest. We're on page 1. If we go to page 2 they'll just change. You'll see the various contests there. You'll notice that there are 2 copies of each contest. So customer service has 2 things, one for each division, so a post-secondary contest and a secondary contest. You can navigate through there. If you want to see more than 10 records at a time, down at the bottom left you can change the records per page. We can set it to 50 for example, and it'll just reload the page with a lot more data. This just gets to be a little tedious to scroll through, can be kind of painful. We're going to set that back to 10 so it's a little easier to see. And then you'll also notice you can sort by whatever column you'd like. So if you want to sort by the alphabetical 2-digit code or by the division, so all the post-secondary ones are on top. Sort by the distinct number. The distinct number is a field that's used to just identify that these 2 contests, architectural drafting post-secondary and architectural drafting secondary, go together. They're both distinct number 79. Not really critical what that number is. You can set it to whatever you'd like. It's just kind of important for sorting in various places throughout the system to keep the post-secondary and secondary versions of each contest together for them to have the same distinct number per contest. In order to edit any of these contests, you simply use the edit button over on the far left hand side. So let's say we want to change the name maybe of this 3D modeling. We click edit. It'll pop up in a little editing window. We can change to 3D animation. If you decide to call it 3D animation at your state conference, you can just change it, save it. Now we've changed the post-secondary one. We also need to make the same change to the secondary copy. 3D modeling, we change to animation. So it's pretty easy to edit those things, change them around however you need to. One of the common things that a lot of state directors want to do is add a specific fee for a particular contest. So for example, if the cabinet making contest, for example, needs to have a special $50 fee because you have to buy all the material and the wood to make a cabinet, and you want to charge the cabinet making contestants that fee directly, we can edit the cabinet making contest and change the fee from 0 to 50. We can also put a little note in here if we want that says $50 fee for material. And then we'd want to do the same thing for the secondary version. I've also noticed that the different codes here, that's not a big deal, but I'm going to fix that while we're in there. Edit. Change that code to put the T in there. And we want a $50 fee. And we can put a similar note. Perfect. So editing those records, very straightforward. You can adjust them however you'd like to do that. When it comes to your state contests, a lot of states have their own particular contests, and you have to decide, do you want to replace an existing NLSC contest, or do you want to add a new one? So for example, let's say for some reason in your state you guys do not do, well, let's pick one that may be less common, industrial motor control. You don't do industrial motor control in your state. Well, you got 2 options. You can either change industrial motor control to something else that you do in your state. We could, for example, edit it and say, we don't want this one to be industrial motor control anymore, we want it to be pin design. And we change the code to PDS or something. And then the same thing for the other one, industrial motor control. This would be the secondary version. We change it to pin design. PDS. It's got the same distinct number. Now we'll have to scroll through here and find the pin design one because it resorted them. pin design. There we go. So we just change those. That's perfectly fine. If you don't have an NLSC event that you don't want to use, you can just change it. The only drawback to that is that if you use the scoring system on the Skills CMS system, where you want to do all your scoring here, well, when we give you this database in Access, since you changed the pin design name from Industrial Motor Control to pin design, when we preload those contests from NLSC for you, you'll end up with the scoring rules for Industrial Motor Control under pin design. So a lot of times it's probably better to just instead of changing the name of a contest from NLSC, just add a new one. And you can do that with the Add button at the bottom. So we've got pin design. Let's say there's another contest here, Pledge of America is only secondary. We want to add the post-secondary copy of that. So we just click Add New, and the same little box pops up, but it's empty now. So we'd say Pledge of America, whatever the code is for that. Division, I think we're putting in the post-secondary version, and the distinct number was 75 for that one. Pledge of America, yeah, 75. So, whoop, I need to change that code. So you get the idea. Change that code to PS. Perfect. Now, when it comes to adding your own brand new contest that you don't have any existing ideas for yet, we may need to identify what's the next distinct number, and the sorting feature of the grid is very easy to help you do that. If we go back to the very beginning, the first page of the grid, and we click the heading, the column heading for a distinct number, it'll sort them in ascending order. If we click it again, it will sort them in descending order. So we can see we have the highest distinct number we have is 80. So we're going to add our own new contest. We could just add it as 81, and then 82, and just keep going on. Like I said, those numbers don't make much difference. It doesn't matter what you use. You could skip to 110. It's just that you want to keep the secondary and post-secondary having the same distinct number. If we decide we don't want a contest, we decide this Office Skills one's one we're not going to use, we can click the Edit button over on the far left. I'm sorry, the Delete button. And it'll ask if we're sure we want to delete it. Notice it does say if there's any contestants already registered for this contest, they're going to be orphaned. In other words, if you had already opened a state event for online registrations, and two students had signed up to compete in Office Skills, and then you went and deleted the Office Skills contest, well, that's going to cause some problems down the road because there's a couple of kids already registered for that contest when you deleted it. But we haven't opened the site yet, so it's fine to do that. A couple of other more advanced features of the grid here. There's a filter feature you can use. I'm going to click on Show Filter here, and this will just bring up a new area down at the bottom where we can look for a particular contest. Like we couldn't find that pin design when we were looking for. We can use the filter tools here to say I want to find things where the contest name starts with and then pin, let's say. Click Apply Filter, and it'll look for any contests that start with a contest name of pin. And there they are, pin design. And let's say we wanted to adjust those because this happens to be a team event, let's say, in our state. I want this to be a team event, so we'll edit pin design. Now, team events have two fields or two concepts associated with them. There's a little checkbox that says, is this a team event or not? We'll turn it on. And then there's a team limit that simply says how many students, how many competitors are on each individual team. Let's say pin design takes 3 students to compete in your state. So we'll set the team limit to 3. And save that. Now you'll see pin design, the post-secondary version, is a team event, and its limit is 3. We'll make the same change for the secondary version. Team event, limit of 3. Now this limit does not mean you can only have 3 pin design teams in your whole state. It just means that if a particular team from Frederick County Votech Center is going to compete, they can have only 3 people on that team. They can have as many teams as they want in your state, perhaps, or you may have some other way of limiting that. Maybe only have 1 per state or whatever, or 1 per school. But this limit simply means how many students maximum can there be on a particular team. And now we've got that filter. We fixed the pin design. When we're done with the filter, we can remove the filter, and that'll take us all back to where we see all the records again. Now we want to see where these contest changes appear. We added pin design, we added something for Pledge of America. In order to see where all these contest changes show up, let's just go and find a contestant who's registering for our Virginia State Skills Conference and see if some of those contests are there. We'll go to the Conference My Registrations. I've got a student here who's waiting to compete in pin design. He just couldn't find it, so we're looking for Andrew. We'll edit his record. He's already configured as a contestant, so we're just going to add a contest. And the contest he was interested in was pin design. And now that we've added pin design, it appears here. It's a team contest, so the team thing's already set up. He's going to be contestant number 1, and there he's saved. The other thing I wanted you to notice about that is if we add another contest for him, the note, remember how we had cabinet making, a $50 fee for material, that's where the note appears. So whatever note you want to put there, many times for team events you'll put team of however many. But if there's a special fee, you can say he's also signing up for cabinet making, and he's going to know there's a $50 fee associated with that. And that's the basics of configuring your own state events.